Let me show you how to import some of this data for the NFL players. I went to the website www.cbssports.com, NFL players. I'm going to go down here to the Miami Dolphins. So I clicked on that. Then I need to just grab the field names and all the data. And sometimes an ad will pop up at the bottom. Just close those up. Um, so let me scroll down here and see if I can get this. All right, so I'm going to click and drag right from player number, drag this down. Slow up a little bit, getting close to the end. All right, I want to grab everything right down here to the bottom. Hit Control C to copy it. And I'm going to pull up my spreadsheet. And on the spreadsheet, I got Buffalo, and I want to put Miami right after that. So I'm going to click on a new sheet. And I know I want to have the record number in column A, so I'm just going to come over to here to column B. And then if you go to paste and choose the drop down arrow, choose the one here that says match the destination formatting. And that should give you all the data. All right, now I'm going to go back to Buffalo, grab the record number, Shift N down, copy all those, go to my new sheet, and paste that, so Control V. So I've got my record numbers in there. I can adjust that column. I'm going to hit End and down to go to the bottom of it. Didn't look like it went quite far enough. We've got a couple extra players, so I'm just going to grab those last couple numbers and use my fill handle. So I've got 99 there. That looks good. I'm going to come right to cell A2 and click on View, Freeze Panes, and Freeze Panes. So I've got that set up. I want to rename my sheet. Call it MIA for Miami. Now I want to start doing some of the other formatting. So might as well just take my field name that I already have in here. I can use the format painter and just paint across my field names, and in fact to go a little bit past that. That shouldn't be a problem. I want to take all this other data, and I'm just going to page down a few times by holding Shift and go over to the right here a bunch of times, just so I've got that. I want to shrink this font size down so it doesn't take up as much space to font size 9. Hit Control Home. So my data is looking pretty good there. Here's the players' numbers. Now I've got the players. All right, so that's the first thing I want to do is separate out their last name and first name. So I'm going to insert a new column here. I want to take the players and I want to copy all that data. So Shift End and down, copy that. I want to stick it over here in column, just anywhere past my other column. So column K in this case. Hit Enter, and I've got that data there. That way I'm not going to, when I try to separate this out, I'm not going to mess up the rest of my data. So I'm going to click on the first name, Shift End and down to select all of those. Go to Data, Text to Columns. It's delimited, so hit Next. I want to use a comma, space, and then I know later on when I get the height, I want to break that out. I'm going to choose Other and type in a slash for that. Doesn't affect this one for the players. It'll be just fine. That way the next time we use the text to columns wizard, we'll have that in there automatically. At this point, you can really just hit finish. You don't need to change anything else, so go ahead, hit finish. And I've got all my players and separated out their first and last name. And notice over here in the third column, I've got these FAs. That you want to just check and see if anybody has a two-word last name, for example. Sometimes things get pushed over. If they have a junior and senior in there, you might want to kind of clean some of those up, but it looks like all of these are just fine, so I'm not going to have to do anything for the Miami players. And I'll just ignore that FA column. Don't need that. So I scroll up to the top. I want to change the field names here. So this is last and first. And then I'm going to take that, Shift N down, cut it, Control X, and put that back here in cell C1, and it's going to paste it right over the old players' names. I can widen out this column. There's their last name. Here's their first name. Looks pretty good. Their position is fine. All right, now next they've got the height. And notice that it formats it as a date, because as soon as you type in a number, like if I type in 6/7, it assumes that it's a date. All right, and it tacks on the 2018 for you. So I've got to break that stuff out into both the feet and the inches, because that way I can do some other calculations. I can calculate out who the tallest player is and so on. But I can't do it when it's formatted as a date. So I'm going to take the heights, copy all of those. So Shift N down, Control C to copy it, put it over here to the right. Cursor down a cell, I don't need the field name. Shift N down to select those. And then I'm going to use text to columns again. And this time with text to columns, we've got delimited. Hit next. Notice by having the slash in here, it separates out the, in this, really, Excel assumes it's the month, but it's the number of feet that they are, they're inches. And then 2018 is just, we don't need that, and we'll just ignore it. So I'll hit, at this point, again, just hit finish. And it says data's already here, replace it. Yeah, it won't hurt anything. Hit OK. And now that I've got those heights, they're still formatted as, now it says 6th of January, because it was just the number 6 and it had a date format on it. You want to go to Home, General, and I've just converted all those to numbers. I'm going to highlight my inches as well. I want to format that so it's size 9. I'm going to change this field name to feet. Type in IN for inches. Insert a new column here in front of height. Grab the feet and inches. Shift N down. Cut it. Come back to that blank column that I just inserted and hit enter. And now I've just converted my height into the feet and inches. So we're pretty well done. Just got a little bit of sorting to do, cleaning up the spreadsheet. So I'm going to click on column L, hold my shift key, come out here to column T, for instance, and just delete these columns. I don't need any of that data, and I just want to clean that up. Hit Control Home, so I'm back in cell A2. Let's adjust all these column widths. So Shift, come over here to column K. Just double click between any of these columns, and I've got everything set up that way. Then in here we've got the birth date and the experience, so I got to do a couple sorts. Right now I've got my records in record order, in other words by last name is how they're sorted. So let's come over to birth date, sort and filter that from oldest to newest. So here we see they've got one player born in 1978. Let's just kind of scroll through here, check out some of the dates, make sure we don't have anything that looks a little bit odd. There at the very end, we've got one player that didn't have a birth date. I'm just going to delete that out. The other thing that I've seen some players that had, for whatever reason, they had like 11-2-0001 typed in there, and clearly that was a mistake. So if you see any of those, just change that to 2001. And you can, I am 99% sure that's the correct year. It was just a typo that they had in the database from CBS Sports. All right, next we'll go to the experience. Let's sort and filter on that column. So I've got players with 1 year, 2 years, so on. And then down at the bottom we've got all these rookies. So the problem with having the letter R in there is we can't do any math with it. We can't calculate out the average, mean, and so on. So we're just going to change that to a 0. So copy it and just paste it here for all those R's. That's why we sorted by that, so all the R's would get together. And that looks pretty good. Now I want to sort back on my original order. And I'm going to do one last look through my data. Everything's looking pretty good. There's the one player that didn't have a birth date. Scrolled by. And I can hit Control Home. Finally, save it. And time for the next team. So I hope that gives you an idea about the steps that I walk through to do all the importing. Give it a try. If it's too much of a headache, like I said, I probably spent an hour, and I got, it was somewhere between a half an hour and an hour, and I got 8 of the teams done, so I could probably finish this off. But I just thought, if you don't mind giving it a try, see what happens, and we'll go with it that way. So thanks for your help.